welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking to you about what I have done to prepare for my impending birth. Now this isn't to say this is exactly how you should do everything. I'm just talking you through some things that I have done and how I'm now feeling in the lead up to our impending arrival. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Although the baby was oh so wanted, very much wanted, but when I actually saw the 2 lines on the pregnancy test, I never in my wildest dreams believed it was even going to be possible. So when it finally was and it was there, I didn't actually know what to make of it, to be honest. And I did have a wobble right at the beginning, and I remember bursting into tears on Mark when it was only us who knew, saying, is this the right thing? Is this really what we should be doing? Purely because we've been together nearly 11 years now, and they've been 11 really happy years. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're not the perfect couple. Yes, he really drives me around the bend sometimes. The fact that, you know, he thinks that the dishwasher sucks in plates from the top of it, or that I can walk around the house and I can literally pinpoint exactly what he's been doing while I've been out, due to the trail of glasses or cups and snacks and empty wrappers, and it is like living with a child already. But there's no doubt that I drive him around the bend as well. But all in all, we have had a really happy 11 years. So it kind of then thought, oh no, are we gonna break something that's already really good? And birth and motherhood and pregnancy is a really massive thing. But actually there have been a number of things that I have done along the way that has now meant that at 35 weeks today, I'm really excited to meet our little one. Really excited. I'm really excited about labour actually as well, which I never ever thought I would end up saying. In my head it was always morning sickness and labour were the 2 things I really needed to be like the most worried about. And as it turns out along the way, there have been so many other things I've been worried about instead. But yeah, so these are the things that I have been doing. When you go and see your midwife, she will undoubtedly talk to you about antenatal classes. So you do have an option in what kind of antenatal classes you want to go to. There are the free NHS ones, whereby you are in a big class of lots and lots of couples, and I believe that they are 4 sessions for about 2 hours at a time. I could be completely wrong, and I'll correct myself up on the screen if it turns out that they are different. But I believe that's what they are. There is also, you can do kind of private company antenatal classes. The most infamous ones are the NCT classes, which are private antenatal classes, and I'll put the cost of those up on the screen here. Or we did private antenatal classes, but we didn't do NCT ones. We did a local company one called About Birth and Babies. Now, I didn't do the NHS classes, and that was purely a personal preference. Some people do the NHS ones as well as the private ones. We didn't do it purely because there's another kind of class that we were also doing, which I'll tell you about in a minute after these ones, as well as these, and trying to fit them all in. Plus I was also doing yoga to help with, I've got a pelvis SPD issue problem that I've had during my pregnancy. So it then would have meant that we would have been out of the house for about 4 nights out of 5 in a week, and that was getting a bit too much. But it'll be great to hear your stories about NHS classes. I love the NHS, really do root for it, but just this time it just wasn't going to work for us, and we got the opportunity to go to the About Birth and Babies ones. Now, our classes were based in Sproston, so they were really local to us, and it then meant that we could meet other local couples who lived in the same area as us as well. As it stands on that course, all of us couples really bonded together really well. It was quite a close-knit group, which was actually an intimate group, which was really nice for us. It then meant that we could really focus on some of the issues, or not issues, but actually ask a lot of the questions that we were really kind of interested in, rather than having to listen to a whole load of other stuff that other people were interested in that might not have been applicable to us. And we've actually come away with, you know, we've made friends with another couple who we're still in touch with, and kind of keeping each other up to date on our pregnancies along the way. Our sessions, all in all, we had 4, which were 2.5 hours each, or 3 lots of 2.5 hour ones, and then an all-day session on a Sunday. So all in all, we got 14 hours of tuition, and they cost us this price. I will caveat it, we were invited along to these courses, so we were very kindly gifted these courses. However, and there is, all opinions are my own, but I have been raving about these antenatal classes to anyone who would listen, and now going forward for any other future pregnancies, I would wholeheartedly go back to these no matter what, without any hesitation. Each one of our couples had a different scenario. So for me, I obviously had the SPD issue, so there were certain aspects of labour positions that that wouldn't be suitable for me. So I had that to contend with, but I was able to go on a midwifery-led birthing unit birth, which is really what I wanted. Whereas some of the other couples that we were with, they had to have a delivery type birth, so a lot of stuff was then centred around kind of what they needed as well. The kind of subjects that we covered were the different stages of labour. I never knew that there were so many different stages. I just thought contractions started, off you go, you push the baby out, and that's it. Oh no, there's so many different stages of labour, and Sian, who was our leader, was fantastic. She talked you through every single one of those steps, what they meant, what was going on in your body kind of biologically, so hormonally, why you would be doing certain things that were kind of instinct to you. So there will be times when you will naturally kind of head towards the floor, so whether that's on all fours or crouching or squatting or those kind of things, and that's your body's way of, you need to get closer to the floor because you're getting there. There was also then sections where Sian could then talk through for the partners and your birthing partner, if it's not going to be your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. So then they can actually understand exactly what is going on in your body at the same time. Particularly, there was a section which I'd never even heard of, and I don't even think half of my friends who have had babies have even heard of it, because it's certainly something that they've ever mentioned to me. But I guess if you're in that moment, then you're not even going to be aware that you're doing it. But there's a phase called transition, so it's where the baby goes from moving down from your stomach and it's moving towards your birth canal, but it then switches to the point where you're about ready kind of to push. So what happens is your uterus, where it's been contracting to try and push the baby down, all of a sudden managed to kind of shrinks all the way to the top, a bit like I imagine it, probably not the right analogy, but I imagine it like, does anyone ever remember Peperamis when they were a kid? The wrapper on the Pepperami that you know, push, and then you get to the bottom and then it's all at the top. That's a bit like the uterus, and then when you're feeling ready to push, the uterus is at the top to then push the baby out itself. That switching point is called transition, and that is often when a lady will, something just happens, something just switches in her, and it's often the time where she will then start to doubt herself, where she'll probably then start to say, oh my god, I cannot do this, oh my god, what am I doing, oh my god, help me and stop this. And it's just a hormone imbalance, so that is the time when the ladies will probably be swearing and hitting their men. But it was all those kind of things that Sian can then also educate the partners, so they actually understood what was going on. We went through pain relief, and Sian is very good in not biasing anything All she simply did was laid out the facts of this is what this pain relief is, this is what can happen in terms of positive and negative points, and it was up to us to decide whether that was a positive or a negative for us. And that was really insightful to me, and it gave me a really good kind of knowledge base really on if I accept certain pain reliefs, what implications that may have later on. So if I accept pethidine at some point, as an example, I won't be able to get back into a water pool. If I accept epidural, then it may mean that I'm going to be on a bed, so I need to be having a bed-based labour, which if that's not what you want, then these are all things that you're going to need to weigh up. Sian also talked to us through like some massage techniques and different ways. I've talked before about oxytocin levels, but different ways that we can get our oxytocin levels up, and how the partners can help you with that, as well as different massaging techniques and kind of natural pain relief options, and distraction techniques, I guess, really, and trying to progress your baby along, whether that is different positions on the birthing ball that you can do when you're at home, or different things that you can do to relax yourself to move it along. And then finally, we covered things like breastfeeding, which was really, really useful to understand the different feeding cues. I always had it in my head that I wanted to breastfeed, that I want to give it a go. I have no judgment on people who do or who do not, but personally I would like to give it a go and to know that I've tried. And I always thought if I couldn't, I knew the hardest bit was going to be getting the baby to latch on to me. So I had it in my head that that's okay. I've got a milking machine already. If I can't get the baby to attach, then I will just, I'll express, and then we'll bottle feed the child, but with my milk. I never realised that you couldn't really mix feed for the first 6 weeks due to bottle confusion with the baby. I also didn't understand the phenomenal things that your body can do in terms of breast milk, in that it can change the temperature of it depending on what the baby wants or needs, the consistency of it as to whether it's a drink milk that it's having or a meal milk that it's having, as well as how to the positions to get your baby to attach. The way that we were taught with Sian is certainly something that I would never have done instinctively, because you always go by what you used to do as a child with your baby and hook your arm up like that, but actually that's not always conducive to the best position for you or the baby. Sian has been a real help throughout as well. At the beginning I was never going to write a birthing plan, purely because anyone who knows me knows I love a list. But if I write a list, I have to do everything on that list. I cannot deviate. If I deviate off that, that will set me into a real tailspin. And that really worried me, because I know that birth isn't predictable, and I didn't want to almost be putting obstacles and hurdles in my way that could make it more complicated than it needs to be. However, Sian also took me through the benefits of having things written down that I want, particularly if I'm doing hypnobirthing, which is another thing I'll talk to you about in just a second. And as with the SPD as well, there are certain elements that my midwife is going to need to know at the time, and I might not be in a position to talk through it, or certainly don't want to be spoken to if I'm doing hypnobirthing. I need to be in my zone. So what Sian helped me do was write a birth wish list. So just like you write a Christmas list or a birthday list, these are things that if everything was my ideal, this is what I want and why. And then if that isn't possible, then the midwife can have a look to see why I wanted something and perhaps suggest an alternative, or this is what I'd like in an ideal world, and we'll only deviate off that if we really need to, but talk to us about it and you'll get an idea of what I need. And also, particularly with the SPD requirements, there are certain things I definitely cannot do, so they did need to know about that. And Sian was really helpful in helping to draft that, really. All in all, the sessions were fantastic. Sian is very approachable and easy to talk to. She doesn't make you feel like any question is silly. And it was the tipping point for me, which I think says it all. I love learning. I have been a proper geek ever since I was a child. I love going to classes and things like that, and learning extra things, whereas for Mark that really isn't his thing. at all. However, at the end of the last session, as we were driving home, even Mark admitted he's thoroughly enjoyed every single session. Was actually really sad that they ended. And since then he's been regurgitating everything he's learned to anybody who will listen. So whether that is about oxytocin, the different labour positions, everything he knows about colostrum, which for anyone who wants to know, that is the real special top-notch milk you get when you first come in the first 3 days of a baby's life. Baby's temperature. He's been practicing how to swaddle because he did that with his first child. But even he didn't actually realise that how he was swaddling before was actually wrong. Or not wrong, it's just there are other ways of doing it for then the baby to be able to give you feeding cues. So you know when a baby's hungry before it actually has to start screaming to let you know. And so that is a real testament in the fact that even Mark enjoyed it. And he hates those kind of group sessions. He hates having to read out loud or do group work. He gets rather intimidated and uncomfortable by those kind of situations for his own personal reasons. Whereas for me, that is my bag, so that didn't bother me whatsoever. I can talk for the both of us, that's okay. But he really, really enjoyed it. So I'll leave the details for about birth and babies below. But antenatal classes are a real kind of recommendation of mine, and then particularly if you're in the local area about birth and babies. The other thing that I also did was hypnobirthing, which I mentioned just briefly before. It's something that I've always wanted to do and knew I always wanted to do if ever I got pregnant. What I didn't realise is that it's all still private practice. I thought you could actually it was still like a bit like an NHS antenatal class, but it turns out it's not. But I was really, really lucky to get onto the NHS pilot of hypnobirthing. So my local hospital, the Norfolk and Orange University Hospital NHS Foundation Trust, are actually running a pilot on hypnobirthing with the intention, if the pilot is successful, of trying to implement it as a normal method of pain relief rather than it being an exception really, unless you do it privately. So what you get, the course was free. However, the materials that you had on the course, if you need to need to buy them, there is a cost for that. So for the book it was £10, and there's also a CD, which is in my CD player in my bedroom, which was £5. The workbook you do really need, because you have to work through it throughout the 4 sessions again that we had. Whereas the CD, I'll be completely honest, that isn't the best hypnobirthing tracks that I've heard. There are actually some better ones online, which I'll suggest right at the end for you, which have been working for me, but it's all personal preference at the end of the day. The gist of it is, again, all about your oxytocin levels, which I've talked about before. So it's all about your oxytocin levels are your hormone which gets labour started. It's a happy hormone, and it's a bonding hormone. So it's the same hormone that you have as when you create the child. When you eat chocolate, when you're stroking pets, particularly dogs, that is oxytocin. Oxytocin's enemy is adrenaline. So that's your fight or flight hormone. Adrenaline kills oxytocin. So if you do not understand what is about to be happening to you in terms of labour, naturally you're going to be scared, frightened, tense, and that will really work against your oxytocin levels. Contractions are your uterus contracting, so it's physically a muscle that is contracting within inside you to move the baby down your birth canal. You do not have to actually do anything really to birth your baby. You've just got to let your body do its thing. But in order to let it do its thing as successfully as possible, you need to be relaxed and just let your muscles work. If you're tense and working against that, you're not going to get anywhere without a hell of a lot of pain. So how hypnobirthing works is to help get your headspace in the right place to let your body do that kind of thing. Essentially, they talk you through how to use mind over matter, essentially. Your birth partner is involved every step of the way. So your birth partner is actively involved to try and help you get into that space. They have to take control of, the nickname is really keepers of the cave. So their job is to kind of take control of answering any questions that a midwife has, so you can concentrate on getting yourself in a headspace. You do not want to be answering any questions from anybody about pain relief, about positions, about what time your contractions started, anything like that. Your birth partner takes control of. You just have to concentrate on actually working with your body. Hypnobirthing takes you through breathing techniques, so you can then get the way you get, if you think about when you run a marathon, you get stitches when your muscles aren't getting enough oxygen. That's no different in labour, because essentially you are going to be doing another marathon. You don't know how long this marathon's going to be on for. Could be on for a couple of hours, could be on for days. But you need to get as much oxygen to those muscles as possible. So to do that, they teach you different techniques in breathing to get the oxygen to those muscles, so you can breathe through what they call surges instead of contractions, to then get the right amount of oxygen to your body and just to work through it. We are bombarded in society with negative stories, whether that's in the media, your friends all wanting to give you different war stories, or even people that you don't know, or even TV shows like EastEnders, One Born Every Minute. Everything is dramatised, and then that almost propaganda really infiltrates into your head and gives you all these negative thoughts before you even get there. If you were ever to have an operation and said, I'm going to go for this operation, you don't want people then coming up to you going, oh, that was the most horrific operation I've ever had. Oh, there was so much pain. Oh, I couldn't walk for weeks. Oh, this happened, it was awful. You wouldn't do it. So why do people do it with birth? And it's all the different thoughts and feelings that you can link to different words and different environments as well, that they help you try and change. So they change words within hypnobirthing. So instead of contractions, you have surges, because contractions sounds really violent, really, and not very nice. We don't talk about pain relief. We don't talk about pain, purely because pain is different for everybody. And if someone walked in and you went, do you want a couple of paracetamol now, or do you want me to get the epidural, the anaesthetist over to give you an epidural, you're automatically thinking something's going to hurt. So if you don't talk about pain, then you're not thinking about it. And also everyone's pain threshold is completely different, and everyone's experience is completely different. It's about getting the environment right so you can relax. So whether that is dimming the lights, having quiet music, having candles and smells, and like cozy cushions and blankets and things around you, just so you can kind of actually help relax, rather than being in a real sterile hospital environment. That's also why they want you to stay at home for longer, and they talk you through things like that. But the biggest thing that they teach you is to escape into your own head, really. So at night, every night, I go to Bali. Thank you. Thanks to the hypnobirthing tracks that then get me into that mindset. It's also believing and understanding the fact that your body is built for this. That's what we were put on this earth to do. So you can do this, and having all these real negative messages bombard you just, wipes that out of your head. So I've got what's known as positive affirmations all up around the house. So if ever I'm having any doubts, then I've got messages such as, it's really exciting, you're about to meet your baby. If you're calm, baby will be calm, because this will be a huge journey for baby too. You're built for this, you can do this, you're powerful, you're strong, all those kind of things, to try and keep them in my head, and get myself in the best frame possible. I mentioned about the tracks, just because the NHS CD for me didn't work doesn't mean that wouldn't work for other people. However, there is a company online called the Positive Birth Company. I came across them on YouTube, and they've actually got some different hypnobirthing videos, which I'll link before, because they were really helpful. They're free resources, and again, it's not endorsed by them or anything like that. I just came across them and found them really useful. And there was also a couple of MP3 tracks that you could download off their website. one of which was a half an hour long hypnobirthing track, and I listen to that every single night, and without fail that puts me to sleep. I'm really hoping that because it puts me to sleep, those messages are still infiltrating. We will see on the day, but I found them really, really useful, so by all means go check them out, particularly the videos. There's 2 different types of breathing that they teach you, one of which I just could not get a hang of in the class, called J breathing, but thanks to these videos I've actually been able to practice at home. Hopefully it's not too TMI, but at home while I'm on the toilet in certain situations they're really, really handy, particularly if you're pregnant. And I think I've managed to nail the J breathing now, but those videos will explain it further. But I can't rave enough about hypnobirthing. Whether I can do it or not when the time comes, we will see. The other important thing to note is they do not ever say that you can't have pain relief. It's not a case of you do this and then you're a failure if you have pain relief. Again, it's a bit like the antenatal classes. It's just giving you an option, and it talks through a lot of those pain relief options and the fact that if you actually work with your brain and work with your body, what the amazing things is that it can do. The third and final thing that I've been doing has been pregnancy yoga. Now, initially I didn't actually do the pregnancy yoga in preparation as such for the labour side of things. I did it purely for a fitness point of view, and the fact that I wanted to still do something as I was getting bigger, and also with my SPD issue I needed to be moving and trying to do movements that could try and assist with that. That's why I initially did it. However, I don't know whether it was pregnancy yoga in general or whether I've just struck really lucky with the tutor that I've got in Debbie. However, I've actually found that Debbie has also helped to prepare me for my impending birth. Or not my birth, my baby's birth. Our birth. In yoga, we go through certain birthing positions. We go through different positions of how to get the baby in the optimum position so that it's not going to cause any issues when it comes out. And breathing techniques. So very similarly, in all 3, you go through the same breathing techniques. I cannot hammer it home enough how important your breathing techniques will be. And Debbie talks you through that as well. And again, how I was saying about the propaganda, Debbie will always talk us through a positive birth story and allow us the opportunity to ask questions if we don't understand certain things or why something happened, and just to really get you in the mindset that it's not all that you see on the telly at all. There are a lot of stories, it's just that some women are just not sharing them. So that is going to be a mission of mine as and when I have this baby out of me, to be sharing as many positive birth stories as possible. But in terms of yoga, it has really helped with my SPD phenomenally, and I'm going to be doing another video on that, particularly on SPD, because I really struggle to find stuff on it, so hopefully I can then help other people who are also going through this horrific pain. But the breathing techniques have really helped, so it then meant I was more prepared when I went into things like hypnobirthing and the antenatal classes. I understood about oxytocin, but I learnt that most in the hypnobirthing, but Debbie touches on that as well. The birthing positions and the things that you need to be doing to try and keep the baby in its best birthing position. So you'll talk a lot about UFO, upright, forward facing and open. They're the kind of positions you need to be in from about 32-33 weeks onwards. So we're sitting very much upright, leaning forward where you can, potentially with your legs open, which sounds absolutely awful, but actually when you've got a bump it's a lot easier than it sounds and a lot more comfortable, because you've got nowhere else for your legs to go. But it then means that your baby's back and its head are obviously the heaviest parts of his body. If you're slouching on a sofa, they're naturally going to go towards your back, so then you could have a back-to-back baby or even a breech baby. So if you're able to sit in those kind of positions in your latter weeks of pregnancy, then you're helping to get the baby into its optimum position. And also when you're in the beginning stages of labour, different things you could be doing to again help encourage the baby down into the best position for it and for you, because obviously it's going to be a lot of hard work for the baby too. So like I said before, I didn't start pregnancy yoga thinking that it was going to be preparation for the birth. I did it more from a fitness point of view, and it might just be because I got extremely lucky with Debbie. But Debbie is with a company called Baby Fit, and again, hands down, absolutely recommend her. As a person, really strongly, and also the yoga in itself. I would have been absolutely lost without Debbie at the beginning when I first got diagnosed with SBD, because I didn't have a clue what the hell was going on. And there were certain things that I could have been doing that was actually going to make it worse. Whereas Debbie actually adapted the classes for me, gave me tips and hints and things, and helped me along the way. And she's literally there at the end of the phone if ever you need to query anything with her. She is a fountain of all knowledge, knows her physical anatomy inside out, and women's health. So again, I feel really content with the knowledge that Debbie has passed on, and I cannot recommend them enough. All in all, those are the three main things that I've been doing to prepare for my birth. Like I said, that's personal to me. That's not to say that that's what you need to do. It's just, it's worked for me, and I'm actually at a point now where I'm actually really excited, and I never ever thought I would say that. At the beginning of the pregnancy, naturally you're scared about labour because that's all you know. All you've heard is that how painful it is, how horrific it is, all those kind of things. And I managed to work through that thanks to predominantly Debbie and Sian, to be honest. The hypnobirthing answers a lot of questions as well. But there have actually then been other things as I've developed along the way when you then find out more information. And again, particularly Sian with About Birth and Babies was fantastic in helping me overcome those and understand them, and just find out ways that I could perhaps overcome those. So for me, just to put it into context, is the actual exiting of the baby that really got to me. It was about 2 weeks where I was absolutely petrified, and I just did not know what I was going to be able to do. Obviously, you're too late at this point in time, but Sian took me through different techniques I can do, the statistics of what I was actually scared about, which was smaller than I thought, and the overall concept of it. So they've been absolutely invaluable. I cannot wait for this baby to arrive now. And I'm hopefully that will help you. I'll link all the companies down below and any of the videos that I've mentioned and things like that. If you have any tips, it would be great to hear yours. I'm sure we can then share them with other people. But for now, that's it. And if you'd like more information or to see more of my videos, obviously don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I'll speak to you again soon. Okay.